I am a author and a company secretary. So I used to be working in Bombay for many years, and then we decided to shift to a smaller place, and that's how we have landed up in Ujjain. And I'm really happy to meet all of you and be able to, talk about a will or anything else actually that you would want to. Uh, So that's what the session is today about. So I'll just start a PPT and then we'll talk about it. And all of you are welcome to ask any questions that you might have. Right. So basically, I guess you all know that a will has to be written, and it is to express your desire as to how you want to distribute your assets and who do you want to uh, make the beneficiary of your assets, which could be very simple, like a bank account, amount in the bank account, or your FDs, or all your personal possessions, which are like a house or a piece of land or jewelry or anything that you possess and you wish someone else to have it once you're not there anymore. So that's what a will is. And you should write a will, and you can change it as many times as you want, and you can change the beneficiaries, or if some asset is already sold off, you can just remove it from your will and add, subtract, whatever. So even if you make a will, it's not as if it's like a final ultimate document which is written in stone. um, then a lot of people think that if you have nominated your FDs or mutual funds or any of the things like bank accounts where you can have nominees, then you don't need a will. But that's not true, because a nominee is like a trustee of your property or whatever you have nominated. But it's only by the will that the proper ownership of anything moves from you to the person who becomes the beneficiary. And that's why making a will is important. So who can make a will? Anybody can make a will who's not a minor, who's of sound mind, and who has not been forced into making the will. I mean, as long as you're writing the will with your own free mind and everything is your own decision and no one is forcing you into doing or saying something, so that is who can make a will. A lot of people wonder whether a will has to be made on a stamp paper or whether it has to be typed and whether it has to be registered. So you can actually write a will on a plain piece of paper. A stamp paper is not required at all. It can be handwritten or it can be typed. The important thing is that it has to be attested by two witnesses. And a will does not have to be registered, but there are a lot of benefits if you get it registered, because even if your will is lost or damaged, a copy remains at the registrar's office and anyone can go and request for a copy. A registered will is especially helpful in case of a dispute, like if somebody thinks that this will is not the real will, the original will, and if the will has been registered, then someone can just go to the registrar's office and pull out a copy and then compare and see whether it is the original will or whether it has been changed. So why is a will important? Because if someone dies without a will, there could be, the asset could just go to somebody that you don't want it to go to. Or in case of there is a minor child and both the parents die unfortunately, then the court has to appoint a guardian and the parents don't have any say because they're not there anymore, and there's no will which has left any kind of instructions for how the minor child has to be taken care of. uh, if there are no minor children involved, but if you have a lot of property and if you have not made a will, even if you don't have a lot of property, that is, and if there's no will, then the court actually appoints the administrator to decide how the assets will be distributed. And usually if there's no will left, then the heirs to the assets, they might fight between themselves, and there is a bigger chance of a dispute in case there is no will. So those are the reasons why there should be a will. What does a simple will include? To begin with, the will just puts your name and address, age, and all that, and it has to say that you're of sound mind and no one is forcing you to make the will, and this is your last will. There has to be a list of the properties regarding which the will is made. There has to be the name of the beneficiaries to whom the assets have to go. As a matter of fact, in a will, you can even write about your funeral wishes or whatever are your last wishes. If you have pets, you can ask, for some kind of benefits which should go to the pet. Legal guardians can be mentioned in the will. The executor of the will can be defined. And most importantly, the will has to be signed by whoever is making the will and 2 witnesses. So when you start making a will, the first thing, of course, you have to make a list of your of paper and then get it typed or just leave it handwritten. Because the witness of the will is very important, a lot of onus lies on the witness. You have to be very careful as to who is your witness. The witness cannot be a beneficiary. You can't leave any share of your asset to the witness. And the witness should be someone you trust, who will, in case there is a dispute about anything, whether it is your state of mind or whether it is about your identity, the witness is the person who has to come and testify that this is the person who has written the will and has signed this will in front of me in my presence, and the person is of sound mind, and everything, that's no one has pressurized the person to write this will. So the witness is a very important person. You should try and have a witness who's younger than you, and you can choose a witness who's either a friend or maybe your legal advisor or a well-wisher. And the witness doesn't need to know what you have written in the will. They don't need to read the will. All they have to do is sign the will, and after you have signed the will in their presence, and their address and their contact details should be mentioned in the will. What happens if the beneficiary dies before the maker of the will? So suppose the maker of the will is a lady who wants her husband to inherit her asset, and unfortunately her husband passes before her. So the maker of the will can just change the will and make someone else the beneficiary. And in some cases, the will can, just mention alternate beneficiaries, that if my house should go to my husband, and in case of his death, it should go to my son or my daughter, and so and so. So just to express that a will can be handwritten, this is just a sample will, which is, and a handwritten will like this is valid as long as it has all the details of the name, address, the details of the asset, and the detail of the beneficiary, date and place, and the witness and the details of the witness, so that you can read it. So this is how a sample, just a simple will, this is how it is. I, Mrs. Richa Gupta, Aadhaar number so and so, wife of Mr. Rajesh Gupta, aged 56, living at so and so place, hereby revoke all my former wills made by me. I declare that this is my last will. I maintain good health and sound mind. I'm making this will of my own independent free decision, and no one has influenced me in any which way. I hereby give and bequeath my movable and immovable properties owned by me in the following manner. 1, flat number 73, Gulmohar so and so, to my husband, Mr. Rajesh Gupta, Aadhaar number so and so. Second, fixed deposit number so and so bank, to my son, Manav Gupta, Aadhaar number so and so. Third, contents of locker number 73 with SBI bank, whatever, to my daughter, Mrs. Sanju Singh, Aadhaar number so and so. Absolutely and forever. Put the date, place, sign, and the witnesses with their name, address, contact details, and their sign. So it's as simple as that. I mean, if it's only when you have complicated lot of assets which are complicated, that you need some legal advice and a lot of mind usage. But if it is just distribution of some simple assets, then you can just do it by yourself. So that's all that okay. So who should keep the final will? So once you've made your will, you should keep it in a safe place at home, maybe in the cupboard or a home safe, or you can put it in a sealed envelope and give it to your executor or some trusted friend, relative, lawyer, CA, or even a beneficiary can hold your will for you. And it is important that you inform your husband or your children or somebody trusted about where your original will is kept. And in case there are any passwords or keys to be used, so somebody should know about it, that how to retrieve the original will. So that's all that there is in the presentation, but I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Paromita, I have written the will, but not registered. But my society in the Mumbai, they are saying it is registered will, they are accepted after my death. So they are saying, please register. It is necessary, but you are saying that there is no necessity for registration. What can I do?
It is not mandatory. Okay, it is like even an unregistered will is accepted. But your society must be insisting on it because it is safer. In the sense, like I'm telling you that the original will has to be kept safely somewhere in some place. But if you suppose register the will, then at the registrar's office, a copy will be there and no one can dispute that to be, in any way false. So maybe just to avoid any dispute, the society is insisting on it. But there is no legal requirement as such, to register the will. So you can actually ask them that why are they asking for a registered will?
Okay.
Excuse me.
Definitely
I would like to know that what are the charges by a lawyer to make a will?
If any, I guess just about 1,500 rupees, or could be even less. I mean, It depends on if it's just a simple will, like even I could give a format and you can just fill it in, but if it's complicated, like if someone has a company and they have a lot of assets and it has to be distributed in a particular way, or there's a trust or society, it all really depends on how much has to be worked in making the will. But if it is a simple will, I think you can get a lawyer to look at it just for 1,500 and even make it for you actually.
In Mumbai, they are
I
charging more than
wish
10,000. More than 10,000 they are asking.
For a simple will, is it?
Yes.
that everybody does whatever money they can make. That's it.
Yes.
Pushpanti and Ashanti, just a quick thing. You don't, as Paromita has been telling us, we don't need a lawyer to make a simple will. If you make your will and writing it with everything written on it, the only reason why you need a lawyer is either to keep the will with him or her, or to register it if you want to. But otherwise, you don't even need a lawyer if it's a simple will. And most of us, 90% of us have simple wills. We give all our assets, either our sons or our daughters or our grandchildren. And yes, it may be more line, but finally, we all have finite assets. If you have companies or you have multiple complicated real estate assets, then get a lawyer. But otherwise, as a first step today, best thing is make a simple will before you start thinking of a more complicated will.
Thank you, Salim.
No, the honest truth is, in a simple will, you will end up doing all the work because you have to make the list of assets. You have to decide who the beneficiaries are. So I don't even know why a lawyer should be charging 10,000 for a simple will. They'll not have to do anything, apart from just putting all the information that you provide in the format. So
is it necessary to put the Aadhaar card number as you have already for
Yes,
everyone?
it is not mandatory, no.
No.
But
And where we have to go for registration?
There should be no ambiguity in a will. So more information you put, like your Aadhaar card and your PAN number or whatever, that's fine. But actually your identity, the onus of proving your identity lies with the witness, because if there is any dispute, they will be the first ones to be called to check whether you really signed the will in their presence and whether you are the person actually, who's made the will. So and it is good to have an executor of a will. Even that is not mandatory, but it is good to have an executor, and the executor can be a beneficiary of your will as well. Okay.
So Paromita, should the executor name be mentioned in the will?
If you have an executor, yes, you have to mention, and whoever is the executor, that person has to agree to be the executor of the will.
So the executor also has to sign on the will then?
Executor doesn't have to sign on the will, no.
But then how does he agree, and how do you kind of showcase that the person has actually agreed? How do you record his agreement, his or her agreement?
You don't, the record of the agreement doesn't have to come on the will, but usually, like, whoever, you will have a chat with the person or have an exchange of mail or something, and the usual thing is that whoever is the executor, if that person is not a beneficiary, that is, then some kind of a fee or something in the will is left for the executor for all the running around that the executor does,
Okay. Also in Mumbai, at least and I'm kind of aware that when you're transferring your, say, immovable property, in a society, as Pushpaji was asking, I think there is it's just having a will alone is not sufficient, because they also ask you to actually get a probate or something from the court.
Oh, all the wills for especially in Mumbai, Calcutta and Madras, any will which where property has to be transferred, that will has to probate is the method, it has to go to court and probated, and then the stamp duty is paid, and then the transfer happens. Yeah, for that you actually need a lawyer. I mean, because it is kind of a little time consuming and going to the court, and to probate a will, you should definitely have a lawyer.
Okay, so even a registered will requires a probate.
Yeah.
probation.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
So can I add to my what you call property? Can I add both my daughter's name so that they don't have problem for probate and all after my death?
So do you want to, is it a single property?
For the timing, yes.
So you can, whatever you wish. I mean, if you want both of them to have half of it, so then it should say that the proceeds from the sale of this property should go to both my daughters, you know, half each or whatever, like that. You've been mute. You're mute, Asha, auntie.
Yeah. Can I add the name to my property also?
I didn't get your question.
I said, can I add their name to my property where I'm staying now at the present moment?
As joint holders,
Yes.
you can do that. Yes.
How do you do it? Just give it the letter to the society to add my children's name?
I think so, yes. Unless,
I think
that,
you could
that
add
will just,
by
is
giving
it
to
like a
society.
cooperative society? That will make them just members. But if you want their name to be registered in the property, then that can't be done just by giving the names to the society. So that will have to be done, like either they'll have to buy a part or you'll have to gift it to them. You know, so there will have to be a gift deed by which the transfer happens. There will have to be some instrument by which transfer of property happens in their name. And there will be some stamp duty implication in it as well. That can't happen simply by, you know,
For
giving
family also you have to give stamp duty. For giving to your own children also you have to pay stamp duty. Add the children's name.
Yes. For any transfer of property in the names of anybody else, there will be some implication of stamp duty. Even if
Paromita, correct me if I'm wrong, but if I think there is a incidence of stamp duty if you gift it to your child, to gift the property, add a name, but if you gift it, but is there a stamp duty implication if the property is transferred using a will? No, right?
No, there's no stamp duty when it happens by will, right?
So would you recommend, assuming that a real estate asset is a big asset, would you recommend that the will is registered to avoid probating, or will probating have to be done?
Probating has to be done.
Okay, so registering it or not registering doesn't matter.
That doesn't matter, correct.
Okay.
Probate has to be done, and I also recommend a lawyer to be appointed at that point of time, you know.
By the people, the beneficiary, right? So that is
Right,
after the person.
right. Yes, by the beneficiary.
Yeah. So, anybody has any other questions?
So just clarify.
What does probate mean? I'm not understanding.
Probating has a stamp duty implication at that point of time, right? So you don't have a transfer stamp duty, but there'll be a probate stamp duty that will be applicable, especially in Mumbai, right?
Yeah, so that is the next step. Okay, it is after a will has been probated, then there is an administration which happens, and at that point, on the full value of whatever is being transferred by the will, not just the immovable property, but if anything else which might like lot of people leave shares in the will, those also you have to pay stamp duty even for that after the will has been probated. Okay, at the point of transfer.
And do you know how much that stamp duty is?
No, that will depend, you know. That,
On
that
the area.
on the area, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Any other questions? I know this is one of the tougher topics to talk about, both emotionally and in terms of the complexities. But I would strongly recommend to everybody, and I know that we have a lawyer here who would actually agree to that. That make a simple will. Don't try to make the world's most complicated will. First, make a simple will. Get that in your cupboard or in your safe place. Then go forward and make your more complicated will. Let that be after this. But first, make a will and keep it in a safe place. Because a lot of people actually don't have wills, and trust me, there have been a lot of instances where they fight for no reason. The bankers will say will dikhao, the society will say will dikhao. Most probably, most of us have not changed the names. The people who we have nominated may have passed away or not with the same name. They may not have an Aadhaar card if they've gone abroad. There are a lot of problems that can come in. So please, if you can, make a will. It's not difficult. Make the first will. Then go and get a lawyer, pay your 10,000 rupees or whatever. I don't think it should be that expensive, but do that. Am I correct, Paromita?
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, as soon as you start putting your list of assets together, all the information comes together. You know, people don't leave details as to how many bank accounts they have, or where do they have the bank accounts, what are the FD numbers, where are their lockers. At least all this information comes at one place. I mean, otherwise there's a lot of chaos which happens. I mean, apart from, even if there's no dispute, the family actually goes through a lot of confusion, and a lot of times even some asset or some bank account or something is just missed out because no one has any information on it. So that is why you should start.
So does one have to list all the assets by numbers? Like your FD numbers may keep changing, right? You may have FD of some maturity period, right? And today that is the FD number, tomorrow that matures, and I may have another FD, now it's a different number. So then you have to keep on updating. Can you like write more generic thing there saying, okay, all my like FDs or this thing can be shared or can go to so and so and things like that? Or
yeah, so
something
basically, as long as there is no ambiguity in it, suppose you say all my FDs should go to some person X, so then there is no confusion. But say you have some 30 FDs and you want 10 FDs to go to 3 different people each, then you need to be more specific. And then you're right, if it changes, the will has to be changed, that detail has to be changed. But I mean, like how Saleh is saying as well, it's important to just make a beginning and at least write all my FDs with so and so bank. I mean, those finer details can be worked out even later, you know.
Maybe you see such silence in a talk. I think everybody's a bit done with all the amount of information, Paromita. I think we may have to repeat this session again soon, just to give everybody a chance to ask their questions after they think about it. But a thought: why don't we, on another session, maybe after a month, type a will live, where you and I will be the person writing a will, and you're my lawyer, and we will type it on screen so people can realize how easy it is. How that is an idea?
Great idea, absolutely.
You should give us a copy of it.
Yeah, we can actually have all the parties, while we do it, like we should have 2 witnesses, we should have an executor, and we can role play all of it and create the will.
Ashanti, you're going to be our executor.
Okay.
Okay, and we will need 2 witnesses that we will get. Let's do an actual will, because I've gone through this process. It's very, very easy. It was scaring me when I tried doing it, but it did not take me time. It took me about 45 minutes to make my will. Most of the time, I spent finding out the name of and account numbers of my financial assets.
Exactly.
Right?
That is what takes maximum time. I agree.
So, we'll have to end this because we don't have too much time. Paromita, thank you very, very much. But I think next time what we'll do is let's do this live session. Let's make me a will. And I'm going to give all my assets to, I'll figure out whom on that will.
Okay.
Okay. So, thank you, everybody. And we'll see you again tomorrow. And Paromita, again,
Just before we leave, because one moment, Renu, you asked a question about FDs and stuff getting changed. There's an idea, it can be just an annexure to the will, and changing the annexure is not so difficult because then you don't need the witnesses and everyone to keep signing. So those details could just be an annexure of the will to just make it easier. Yeah, sorry. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Paromita. Thank you, Saleh.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.